In my office, Marissa implored for financial aid, her voice quivering. Alex, you're their father too. They need your assistance. I leaned back, maintaining a chilly demeanor, and retorted, the trust funds I established for them are stable and inaccessible to you or Bruce. You've taken enough. Shock washed over her as she comprehended that the control she once held over me was lost, replaced by a man who had constructed an empire and vowed never again to be manipulated. However, before we delve into the entire narrative, let me know your location in the comments below, and if you appreciate this story, remember to subscribe and click the bell icon so you'll always be informed of our future stories. Millbrook was a town where life progressed at a leisurely speed. Surrounded by rolling hills and adorned with Victorian-style homes, its streets were filled with quaint cafes and a single bookshop that served as a community center. The crisp autumn breeze whispered hints of decaying leaves and wood fires, a testament to its quaint small-town allure. Neighbors would wave from their porches, children would frolic under oak trees, and families would congregate for Friday night football matches. Alexander Hood, a 42-year-old software developer, symbolized the tranquil reliability that was synonymous with the town. His wire-framed glasses and graying temples concealed an astute mind. Alex cherished his wife Marissa, a pediatrician, and their 3 children Thomas, Emma, and Lucas. Their family life appeared idyllic convivial dinners, joyous weekends, and a home brimming with love. On a late autumn night, Alex was engrossed in work at his home office. The steady clacking of his keyboard harmonized with the gentle hum of his dual screens. As the clock struck 11:47 p.m., his desk bore remnants of a life well lived, a mug stained with coffee and a photo of his beaming family. Marissa's laughter resonated from the garden, which was then met by words that paused Alex in the middle of typing, transforming his life's fragment into brittle glass. Incredulous, he remains clueless. For a brief moment, Alex couldn't breathe. The piercing words hung in the air, cold and biting, turning the once comforting warmth of home into an oppressive vacuum. His hands quivered as they clutched the desk edge, his mind reliving Marissa's voice. Incredulous, he remains clueless. A wave of disbelief surged through him, pounding against the fortress of trust constructed over 15 years. The soothing hum of his office now seemed mocking. Each keystroke from his computer echoed hollowly in the room. Memories he had treasured began to resurface, now tainted with doubt. Thomas' laughter and crinkled eyes always reminded Alex of nothing like his own. Emma's auburn hair, so dissimilar to either theirs, crossed his thoughts now. Luca's unusual aptitude for numbers, a skill he attributed to genetics, appeared distressingly out of place. Each recollection served as another blow, dismantling the story he had fervently believed in. Then came the weighty name, Bruce Cuman. This name now hung heavy enough to suffocate Alex. Scenes of Bruce cradling Lucas at his baptism, offering investment advice to his mother, and standing by his side on his wedding day flashed through Alex's mind. How often had they laughed together, shared drinks, confided in one another? The betrayal seemed boundless, spiraling deeper as the realization set in that this was not a momentary lapse, but a carefully executed deception. And Caroline, his mother, her role in this was the final blow. She had been his anchor, shaping his moral compass. But her complicity now tarnished every memory of her love and guidance. Sitting in his chair, Alex hid his face in his hands. The betrayal wasn't merely personal, it dismantled his core identity. How could he rely on his own judgment, his own recollections? The life he assumed was his turned out to be someone else's narrative, and he had been foolish to think it was authentic. Hiring Jared Glover wasn't an easy choice. Alex had always taken pride in his independence, in his knack for resolving problems without external aid. Yet, as he sat in a dimly lit corner of a coffee shop 2 towns away, observing Glover meticulously jot down notes on a sleek tablet, he acknowledged this was a predicament surpassing his individual capabilities to unravel. Glover, a private investigator known for his discerning gaze and truth-revealing prowess, radiated quiet proficiency. "Leave no stone unturned," Glover advised, his voice soft but firm. Alex detailed every aspect of the betrayal he had eavesdropped on, maintaining a steady yet emotionally burdened tone. Glover listened attentively, posing precise questions, and assured Alex he would commence work immediately. In due course, a report sealed by Glover arrived. Alex hesitated before opening it, a knot forming in his stomach. Contained within were DNA test results concerning his children. The cold, clinical language and stark percentages formed an irrefutable image. Thomas, Emma, and Lucas bore no genetic resemblance to him. Instead, they perfectly matched Bruce Cuman. Alex spent what felt like hours scrutinizing the findings, his sight dimming as the words etched themselves into his consciousness. It wasn't merely betrayal, but erasure. Everything he believed he had passed down, every trait he cherished nurturing, originated from someone else. The next revelation emerged when Glover uncovered a sequence of suspicious financial transactions, comparing bank statements. He demonstrated to Alex how Bruce and Marissa transferred funds into offshore accounts over the years. Every transaction was cunningly masked as regular expenses, shared holiday funds, medical repayments, or even investment earnings from Bruce's advisory firm. The figures were astounding, exceeding what Alex believed could be reasonable for their household expenditures. During their second meeting, Glover presented the documents, moving them slowly across the table. "This account," he explained, tapping a spreadsheet with his pen, "is in your wife's name, but it's linked to Bruce's shell company. They've been using your family finances to conceal their withdrawals." The Caroline Beach house, Alex found, was the source of his distress. He had always considered the property a tranquil sanctuary, a place where his mother hosted family reunions and orchestrated philanthropic events. Now it seemed tainted, yet another venue for their duplicity. "Here's the utility evidence," Glover added. "Weekend power surges coincided with times you were away, as Bruce and Marissa alleged they were swamped with work commitments." This fact had always made Alex questionless regarding Marissa's hospital emergencies and Bruce's business trips. However, it now appeared that these alibis had concealed their secret affair. The revelation of their infidelity gradually sunk in, each piece of evidence further undermining the pillars of his trust. The most damning evidence came via emails. Glover's tech expert scrutinized Caroline's old messages and discovered correspondence between her and Marissa that dated back over a decade. Reading these emails filled Alex with a sickening fury. His own mother, the person he considered beyond reproach, had facilitated the relationship between Bruce and Marissa. In one email, sent just before Alex's wedding, Caroline wrote, "Bruce is the better choice for you, my dear. Alex is reliable, successful, and fully committed to you. In this manner, you can obtain both Alex's safety and Bruce's ardor. Rest assured, this is for the superior good." Her tone was unsettlingly casual, as if arranging a social gathering instead of orchestrating a plot that would disrupt her son's life. Another conversation revealed Caroline's part in concealing the affair. She not only encouraged Marissa, but also arranged alibis for her absences, even volunteering to babysit during their clandestine weekends. Alex's hands shook as he read, his mother's betrayal seeming almost more intimate than Marissa's. She had prioritized someone else's joy over his, thinking she was acting in his best interests. Each piece of evidence Glover discovered painted a clearer image of the deception that had infiltrated Alex's life. He started to discern patterns he had overlooked before. Marissa's strategically placed hospital inquiries, Bruce's excessive and casual unannounced visits, Caroline's peculiar defensive responses when he probed family affairs. This intricate web of deceit stretched over years, involving those Alex trusted dearly. With each disclosure, the burden on Alex increased. However, alongside the anguish and fury, a resolve started to grow. If Marissa, Bruce, and even Caroline had constructed this complex facade, then he would disassemble it with equal meticulousness. By the time he departed Glover's office that day, Alex wasn't simply a shattered man. He was a man with a strategy. As he drove home, the evidence in his briefcase felt like a ticking time bomb. He knew he couldn't face them yet, not until he was prepared. The truth had dismantled his life, but Alex swore it would also be the instrument he used to rebuild it on his own terms. The storm had commenced, and Alex was no longer the unwitting victim. Alex had transformed into something more menacing towards those who had deceived him. The narrative starts with Alex's map, detailing various realms he could traverse. In her streamlined, unyielding office, Miranda Hughes sat, her formidable lawyer reputation known beforehand. The room's serious atmosphere echoed Miranda's stern personality, in stark contrast to the turmoil in Alex's life. He pushed a bulky file towards her desk. It contained documents, reports, and evidence meticulously amassed by Glover. Miranda leafed through the pages, her actions precise, her forehead creasing as she pieced together the magnitude of the events. "This," she eventually said, reclining and adjusting her spectacles, "isn't mere betrayal. It's a strategic dismantling of trust and resources. If we proceed judiciously, we can prevent them from escaping." Alex nodded, his jaw clenched, revealing the underlying stress he attempted to conceal. "Not only do I seek justice," he stated resolutely, "but I prioritize securing the safety of my kids above all." Miranda nodded approvingly. "Let's begin with your financial resources." The initial step was to secure Alex's finances from any potential claims. Miranda enlisted Gustavo Goodrich, a skilled and experienced financial advisor adept in intricate asset management, who promptly joined the discussion at Miranda's conference table. Listening intently, Alex agreed as Gustavo presented a strategy to safeguard his wealth. "We'll construct barriers," Gustavo clarified, displaying a digital diagram on his tablet. "Trusts, offshore accounts, and hidden investments. Each action will be entirely legal, making it extremely difficult for others to access your assets." Alex gave his approval without hesitation, comprehending the necessity of preserving what he had constructed, not for himself, but for the future security of his children. Gustavo moved swiftly, setting up independent trust funds for Thomas, Emma, and Lucas. The funds were established with indestructible provisions, ensuring that only the children could access them under particular circumstances like educational costs or major achievements. Gustavo assured him that their future finances would be secure, and neither Marissa nor Bruce would ever tap into these funds. As these arrangements were carried out, Alex continued to uphold a semblance of normalcy at home. Every morning, he would kiss Marissa goodbye while she went to work with her hospital bag slung casually over her shoulder. In the evenings, he helped the children with their homework, shared family dinners, and told bedtime stories. Each interaction was a meticulously planned act meant to postpone revelations. Meanwhile, Alex's life took on an undercurrent of furtive movements. He coordinated meetings with his legal and financial advisors during times when Marissa thought he was at work. He meticulously erased phone logs and emails following each interaction with Miranda or Gustavo, making certain there was no evidence of his schemes remaining. The most challenging aspect was dining opposite Marissa at the table, as she shared insignificant stories from the hospital, while he was aware she was leading a dual existence. From time to time, his eyes would linger on her, seeking signs of remorse, weaknesses in her mask. However, Marissa performed her role with unwavering precision, matching him, and the tension between them transformed into an unacknowledged battlefield. Simultaneously, Miranda's team worked diligently to assemble a watertight case. Surveillance images, email exchanges, financial documents, and DNA test results were systematically compiled into a detailed portfolio. The legal approach was apparent. Corner Marissa and Bruce with incontrovertible proof, leaving them no means of escape. "Timing is crucial," Miranda emphasized during a late-night conference. "We'll strike when they are least prepared." This isn't merely a matter of revealing the truth, it's about shaping the story. Alex admired her foresight. Each move was well thought out, from timing the divorce to securing their shared assets, like the house and other holdings. His company underwent a discreet restructuring, with shares shifting into blind trusts to prevent Marissa from acquiring a share. Despite the careful strategizing, Alex's emotions frequently threatened to overpower him. In the stillness of his office late at night, he would gaze upon family photos, the joyous faces of Thomas, Emma, and Lucas, a reminder of why he couldn't waver. His love for them remained steadfast, even as he confronted the truth about their paternity. In those quiet moments, he decided to remain resolute, not for retribution, but for their tomorrows. They deserve a stable and secure future, one free from the specter of their parents' deceit. And they deserve to be recognized and heard by others, including Stefka. Weeks onward, Alex mastered the intricate equilibrium between readiness and deceit. Bases were covered, trusts were financed, proof was compiled, and Miranda's plan was primed to unfold. Meanwhile, appearances in the Hood household remained constant. Marissa maintained her act, Bruce graced family gatherings with his usual grace, and Caroline dropped by with pastries, her knowing smile concealing the extent of her treachery. Alex met them all with stoic composure, his genuine intentions cloaked behind an unbreakable facade. However, beneath this tranquil veneer, a tempest was brewing. Alex's world had been fragmented, yet he was resolute on reassembling it, not as the trusting spouse he used to be, but as a man intent on dismantling the deceptions that had molded his life excessively long. The pieces were set, and the day of reckoning was nearing. The evenings presented the most difficulty for Alex. Evenings spent at the dining table, living room, or by his children's bedsides were both his greatest comfort and deepest turmoil. Thomas, with his insatiable curiosity, Emma, with her quiet elegance, and Lucas, with his tireless eagerness for knowledge, these three he cherished fiercely. Yet every moment was tinged with a harsh truth. They weren't biologically his. The thought ate away at him, yet it never dampened the affection he felt towards them. One twilight, as the sun vanished over the horizon, Alex sat next to Lucas at the kitchen table. The boy was wrestling with fractions, his small hands tightly grasping a pencil while frowning at the textbook. "Here," Alex said softly, taking the pencil and illustrating a diagram of pizza slices. "Visualize it as if you're dividing an entire pie into 8 pieces, but you eat 3, how many are left?" Lucas's face brightened with comprehension. "5," he declared excitedly, his smile wide. Alex couldn't suppress his own grin, swelling with pride in his heart. "Indeed," he replied, messing with Lucas's hair. "You understood it well." However, as Lucas resumed his workbook, Alex's smile faded. Bruce's gaze and Lucas's joyous expressions served as a poignant reminder that the relationship he valued was founded on a deception. The betrayal cast itself over the moment like a shroud, making the affection seem temporary, almost borrowed. Alas, later that evening, Alex stood outside Emma's room, hearing her violin echoing through the closed door. She was rehearsing an unfamiliar piece, its tune mournful and sorrowful. He had always been proud of her devotion, her ability to express emotions through every note. Yet, as he listened now, a doubt crept in. Was her love for music something she had inherited from Bruce, or was it a talent uniquely hers? He yearned to believe that origins didn't matter, that nurture held more weight than nature. Still, the question lingered, an unwelcome visitor in his mind. He had raised her, fostered her, bolstered her. Wasn't that enough to claim her? Yet he found no answers, only an emptiness gnawing at him. As the eldest, Thomas was both a source of pride and sorrow for him. At 14, Thomas was blossoming into a self-assured youth, something Alex admired yet longed for. One evening, post-dinner, Thomas shared his soccer strategy with him, carefully unfolding it on the coffee table. "Dad, see this?" he said. "If we adjust our midfielders in defense this way, we can prevent their counterattacks more effectively." Alex studied the plan, nodding approvingly. "That's smart," he responded. "You're thinking ahead, predicting their moves. Your coach will be proud." Thomas's enthusiasm was contagious. However, as Alex watched him, the familiar crease in his eyes sparked a wave of sorrow. It wasn't Bruce's smile, but it felt like it. The truth struck him suddenly, leaving him breathless. He managed to return a smile, complimenting Thomas on his innovation, but the burden of reality weighed heavily. In tranquil instances, when the house lay silent, Alex frequently sought solace in his office. There, he would scrutinize family photographs capturing moments of birthday celebrations, holidays, and seemingly ideal days. He closely examined the faces, seeking fragments of himself within them, but finding none. The images transformed into relics of a life he once cherished, but now struggled to recognize. Although it hurt, Alex couldn't detach from the children. They were blameless in this turmoil, victims of forces they couldn't mastermind. He could neither mete out retribution for their mothers or Bruce's decisions, nor let his torment taint his dealings with them. Instead, he directed his affection towards ensuring their future stability. The trust funds served as more than financial buffers. They were Alex's pledge to them, a means to fulfill their aspirations irrespective of what unfolded next. Despite the uncertainties gnawing at him, he found comfort in the belief that they would gain the opportunities they rightfully deserved, no matter how the truth unfolded, solidifying their correct path. Yet, even as he endeavored to safeguard them, the emotional burden became oppressive. He doubted his role as a father, questioned the genuineness of his affection, and wondered if the children would ever perceive him as anything but a stranger. The ambiguity was smothering, yet it never dimmed the love that bound him. One evening, Lucas approached him while he was working, presenting him with a drawing. "Dad," he said, displaying his artwork featuring their family and their dog Max. "I made this for you." Overwhelmed, Alex accepted the drawing, feeling his throat constrict as he scrutinized it. There, at the center, he saw himself, caricatured with oversized glasses and a wide grin. "Thanks, buddy," he stammered, embracing Lucas warmly. In that instant, Alex discerned a deep truth. Love, true love, was not predicated on genetics. Constructed in such instances, aiding with homework, tuning into violin rehearsals, and participating in his children's aspirations. The act of betrayal failed to wipe away the feelings he harbored for them, nor lessen his impact on their lives. True was the agony of deception, but equally real was his affection. In the final analysis, it was this love that fortified him. It wasn't about recovering what had been taken. Rather, it was about clinging to what truly mattered even during the shadow of an unforeseen betrayal. The Thanksgiving morning broke clear and frosty, the window frost mirroring the underlying tension. Within the Hudson residence, the aroma of roasting turkey and spiced pies permeated, concealing the careful planning Alex had invested in this day. The table was carefully arranged, each silver fork and crystal glass glimmering under the soft chandelier light. Each setting bore more than plates and napkins. Under each guest's napkin was an envelope that could potentially devastate lives. Alex moved stealthily through the house with deliberate precision, every action calculated. He greeted Marissa with a composed smile as she tied her apron, her face flushed with the satisfaction of hosting what she thought would be another flawless family gathering. "Everything is impeccable," she said, making the final adjustments to the table. He subtly affirmed her, his gaze lingering on her for a second too long. She looked radiant, self-assured, even naive. This sight made him feel queasy. The guests started arriving in the late afternoon. Bruce and Krista were the first to enter, their polished smiles undiminished. Bruce handed Alex an expensive bottle of wine, his handshake firm and self-assured, a man oblivious to the storm brewing ahead. Wine was poured shortly after, her usual poise barely concealing the undercurrent of authority she always exuded. Other visitors, comprising Marissa's co-workers and acquaintances from family circles, gradually arrived, filling the space with laughter and chatter. Although the lively environment seemed enjoyable, Alex sensed a growing apprehension within himself, analogous to a tightly wound spring. Each grin, every amiable exchange felt like scenes from a play where only he knew the tragic finale. He observed Marissa gracefully navigating amongst guests, echoing Bruce's laughter, her charisma illuminating the room. Caroline poured wine with expertise, attending to children while maintaining an impeccable appearance of smoothness. To outsiders, it was a Thanksgiving scene straight out of a picture book. With everyone settling in their seats, Alex stood at the head of the table, raising his glass for the traditional toast. His voice remained composed, hiding the turmoil beneath the surface. "Before we proceed," he announced, "I have something prepared for each of you. You will find an envelope beneath your napkin. Please take a moment to read it." The sound of paper rustling replaced the room's background murmur as guests opened their envelopes. Alex stayed put, surveying the room as comprehension and dismay washed over their faces. The ambience transformed abruptly, the previous warmth replaced by a stifling tension. This was the moment Alex had anticipated, tranquility giving way to turmoil. The room fell silent save for the ripping of paper and the crinkling of envelopes. Alex stood steadfast at the head of the table, his countenance inscrutable as he scanned the faces of his invitees. One after another, their responses manifested. Krista's sharp intake of breath was the initial rupture of silence, her hand flying to her mouth, a damning photograph landing on the table before her. "Bruce," she breathed, her voice quivering. "What is this?" Bruce, positioned beside her, drained of color as he scrutinized the evidence in his envelope. The DNA test findings, bank records, and surveillance photos portrayed a devastating truth. Cracking his poised demeanor, he faced Alex, his voice a blend of fury and alarm. "Alex, tell me the significance of this." "You're fully aware," Alex replied coolly, his calmness slicing through the room like a knife. 15 years, Bruce. 15 years of lies, treachery, and theft. Take this as your retribution." Marissa, sitting on the opposite side of the table, gripped her envelope tightly, her knuckles turning pale, her self-constructed image falling apart. "Alex, please," she began, her voice trembling. "I can justify myself." "Explain then," Alex growled, his composure slipping for a moment. "You've deceived me throughout our marriage. You let me think I was raising my own children while you and Bruce lived as a couple behind my back." Marissa opened her mouth, but remained silent. Caroline, seated beside her, intervened, her voice steady yet laced with desperation. "Alex, all I ever desired was what was best for you." "You must realize it was best for me," Alex interjected forcefully, his voice escalating. He gestured towards the damning emails in Caroline's folder. "These weren't the actions of someone who had my best interests at heart, Mother. You manipulated my life to align with your ideal vision, not considering what I wanted. You chose Bruce. You chose Marissa. You never cared about me. You only cared about control." Caroline's facade began to crack, tears glistening in her eyes. "I thought I was shielding you," she murmured. "No," Alex retorted decisively. "You were safeguarding your own story at my cost." Meanwhile, Krista stood up from her seat, her hands shaking as she held photos of Bruce and Marissa together at Caroline's beach house. "All these years," she lamented, her voice quavering, "I felt like I wasn't enough for you. Yet, here you were constructing a second family around me." Bruce implored Krista, his voice laden with entreaty, but she retorted sharply, delivering a resounding slap that reverberated within the chamber. "You dare not," she retorted sharply, "not try to defend this." The offspring, seated at the opposite end of the table, watched on, puzzled and increasingly anxious. Thomas, the eldest, broke the silence among them, his voice trembling. "Father," he questioned hesitantly, "what's happening here?" Alex turned to address his children, a sense of sorrow weighing heavily upon him at their innocence. "I believe it's best if you three retreat upstairs," he addressed them softly. "This situation does not concern your ears." Emma hesitated, her chestnut hair catching the light as she scrutinized Alex's face. "Father, Emma," Alex interrupted gently, his voice gentle but firm, "trust me. I shall clarify everything at a later point. For now, I ask for your faith in me." Unwillingly, the children exited the room, their footsteps reverberating on the stairs. The instant they had departed, the tension within the dining room reached its boiling point. Marissa leaned forward, tears trickling down her face. "Alex, I found myself in an impossible situation, struggling to express the truth without causing pain. I didn't want to inflict hurt upon you. Yet, unknowingly, you had been causing me harm for 15 long years with every smile, every kiss, every shared moment was a deception. You harmed me and dismantled the life we constructed together. I never intended it to escalate this far," Marissa admitted softly. "It did," Alex responded coldly. "Now you must bear the consequences of your actions." Caroline moved as if to console him, but he withdrew, her gesture striking more deeply than any words could. "I don't require your alibis or apologies, Mother. I was betrayed by you just as much as they were," Alex asserted. Bruce finally found the strength to speak up, his initial confidence replaced by a desperate entreaty. "Alex, we can restore this. You're overreacting." "Restore 15 years of deceit," Alex's voice grew louder, his anger barely concealed. "That cannot be undone, Bruce." Krista spoke sternly once more, her words biting and inflexible. "I won't stand by you this time, Bruce. I'll ensure you lose everything just as you've taken everything from me." Her words echoed heavily in the room. Marissa remained frozen, tears gathering on the table. Caroline seemed tiny to Alex. Her once powerful demeanor vanished, replaced with a delicate fragility. As his eyes scanned the group Marissa, Bruce, Caroline, even Krista, he felt a sudden clarity. The bonds tying him to this life had been severed by their actions. All that remained was a resolution to press forward, to build anew rather than restore the past. "I'm departing," he declared calmly but firmly. "The children's futures are secure. I've made arrangements already. Apart from you all, you'll need to cope with your actions." Marissa wept openly, but Alex remained unyielding. He departed the room, the echo of his footsteps dissipating into quietness. Above, he verified on the children, each sound asleep amidst the turmoil below. He paused for a brief instant, gently brushing a lock of hair from Emma's face before retreating to his office. As he settled in the comfortable leather chair, the burden of the night descended upon him. The family he once held dear had disintegrated, irreparably broken. Yet beneath the pain, a steady determination surfaced. This was not an end, it was a beginning, stronger than before. And as the outside storm mirrored the internal upheaval, Alex allowed himself a moment of sorrow before directing his gaze toward the future he would shape autonomously. The weeks post-Thanksgiving were a haze of detailed preparation for Alex. Each move, every action, was carried out meticulously, as if dismantling the fragments of his former life methodically. He held no desire to remain in Millbrook, a locale now tainted by betrayal's bitter taste. Instead, he decided on vanishing completely, leaving only a testament of truth and stability for his offspring. The initial move was selling his firm. Alex operated discreetly from the background, appointing a reliable intermediary to oversee the negotiations. The deal was swift yet comprehensive, guaranteeing that his workers were safeguarded and the company would prosper under its new management. Once the last documents were sealed, Alex experienced an unusual blend of relief and sadness. The enterprise he constructed from scratch was no longer his, but it was the cost for liberty. With the monetary matters settled, he concentrated on his most intimate assignment, composing letters to his children. On a particular night, in the silence of his office, Alex commenced with Thomas. It appeared he wasn't the first to deal with his mail on that day. "Dear Thomas," he penned, his hand moving smoothly despite the discomfort in his chest. He composed similar messages for Emma and Lucas, adjusting each to suit their unique characters and aspirations. Emma's missive was filled with elegance and imagination, while Lucas's radiated curiosity and promise. By daybreak, the letters were enclosed and given to Miranda Hughes, who swore she would deliver them at the appropriate moment. The final act was cutting all remaining bonds. Alex closed his accounts, sold his house, and discarded anything linked to Millbrook. His ticket to Singapore was reserved under a fresh identity, meticulously constructed for a clean break. As he stepped aboard the plane, Alex cast one last glance back, watching as Millbrook receded. Ahead stretched a new life, a pristine canvas where he could rebuild, freed from the burden of yesteryears. For the first time in weeks, a spark of hope flickered within him. In the expansive cityscape of Singapore, Alex Hood embarked on his transformation. The city's contemporary skyline, adorned with twinkling lights that flickered over Marina Bay, echoed the clean slate Alex sought. Arriving with nothing but determination and fragments of a broken past, he was ready to reconstruct himself from the ground up. His first step was physical. Alex immersed himself in a discipline he had long ignored. Morning after morning found him in a secluded dojo, learning martial arts under the tutelage of a master who spoke sparingly but insisted on precision. Each punch, kick, and movement served as a metaphor for his journey. Deliberate, controlled, and purposeful, the routines hardened his body, erasing the softness of his previous self and replacing it with muscular strength. The sweat and exertion became an outlet, a means to convert the pain of betrayal into something tangible. By the end of his first year in Singapore, he scarcely recognized his reflection in the mirror. A determined man, Alex found comfort in solitude and routine amidst emotional turmoil. Leaving Millbrook's quiet tumult behind, he embraced the systematic pace of his fresh start. Initially challenging, therapy sessions helped him confront long-held anger and sorrow. His therapist advised, "Change is not about forgetting your past, it's about choosing your future self." These words echoed profoundly, serving as a recurring mantra during restless nights. Gradually, Alex released not his affection for his children, but the resentment linked to his past. In terms of career, Alex's ascent was swift and remarkable. He established Hood Innovations, a firm that combined his software development skills with cutting-edge technologies such as blockchain and AI. His methodology was relentless yet inspiring. Each creation showcased his new ideals of transparency and honesty. Overseeing Hood Innovations, Alex turned it into a leading tech industry titan, revolutionizing supply chain management throughout Asia. Tech conference keynotes became his platform for imparting wisdom to an eager audience. At one occasion, he declared that success wasn't about evading failure. Rather, it was about learning from mistakes and rebuilding with purpose. Despite a busy schedule filled with meetings and creative endeavors, solitude often characterized his nights in his penthouse, overlooking the city as he sipped green tea, contemplating Thomas, Emma, and Lucas. The letters he'd left behind were not mere words but promises, wishing that one day they would comprehend why he departed and possibly reconnect with him. As years rolled by, Alex became synonymous with perseverance in tech circles. Yet, inside him, a longing for connection persisted. Remorse for the life lost, yet optimism for the one in construction. His transformation wasn't about erasing the past. It was about declaring he wouldn't be defined by it. Every step forward signified a farewell to the past and a pledge to himself of what could be. A decade elapsed, and Alex Hood's return to Millbrook wasn't celebrated but transformed silently. The flourishing town he departed from appeared worn in his absence, bearing marks of economic stagnation. Deserted shops, peeling paint, and fading signs hinting at a community fighting to preserve its history were evident. Despite the decay, Alex perceived potential, an opportunity to rebuild, not just for himself, but for the town that molded him. From his tinted Bentley windows, he surveyed familiar sights. The Victorian houses, the park where his children had played, even the old Hood residence, all seemed diminished now, faded by time. Alex had transformed significantly. The figure who emerged from the vehicle near Millbrook Tech Park bore little resemblance to the man who'd once fled. His tailored attire, keen gaze, and calm composure exuded achievement, fortitude, and a life reshaped. Millbrook Tech Park, his initial acquisition upon returning, mirrored its past desolation. A symbol of innovation, it had deteriorated into decay, its unkempt grounds choked with weeds. However, under Alex's guidance, the site began to rejuvenate, upgrading infrastructure while Hood Innovations banners heralded a more promising tomorrow. Millbrook was set to rise anew, but this time, according to Alex's vision, news of Alex's comeback spread swiftly. Marissa extended the first invitation for a meeting at her humble clinic on town's periphery. Upon arrival, she welcomed him with palpable anxiety, her previous elegance faded by hardship over the years. In a clinic that echoed her dwindling status, Marissa spoke, her voice trembling. "Alex, I appreciate you being here," she said. He returned his usual composed gaze. "I'm here to lend an ear, Marissa. Go ahead." She fidgeted, her hands twisting together. "I wish to apologize for everything. My actions were regrettable, and I acknowledge the pain I caused you beyond repair." Alex kept his facial expression unchanged. "You're correct, there's no fixing it." Her breath caught, but she persisted. "I've attempted to rebuild. For the kids, for myself. I wanted you to understand that I regret every moment of it all, every day." In response, Alex revealed neither anger nor wavering. "Your remorse is yours to bear. My focus has always been on the children, and they seem to be thriving despite everything." Maurice's tears flowed freely, but Alex remained resolute. Alex had distanced himself from her for quite some time, and this discussion held finality for him instead of reconciliation. Caroline initiated the meeting unexpectedly at the tech park. her powerful aura now faded to an echo of its former self. Alex granted her access to his office more out of duty than eagerness. "Alexander," she started, her voice quivering, "I've come seeking forgiveness for meddling in your affairs. I was mistaken to believe I knew what was best." Alex sat back in his chair, maintaining his gaze. "You didn't ponder over it, Mother. You acted. You opted for power over truthfulness and suffered the consequences." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "I lost everything: my status in society, the admiration of my grandchildren, even our relationship. All I desire is a chance to rectify things." "Some mistakes can't be corrected," Alex said calmly. "However, you will never lack assistance from me." Caroline departed Alex's office, seeming smaller than upon arrival, burdened by the weight of her decisions. For Alex, it was another bond cut, another story concluded. The most significant encounter transpired several days later when Thomas, Emma, and Lucas visited Alex at the tech park. Matured adults, they exuded the self-assurance of individuals who had faced trials and emerged more robust. At 24, Thomas had affiliated with Hood Innovations, demonstrating his abilities through diligence. Emma, aged 22, had blossomed into a composed artist, her poise complemented by quiet resilience. Lucas, at 19, was already a talent in his own right, delving into groundbreaking blockchain initiatives. "Father," Thomas initiated, his voice even but tinged with emotion, "we've longed for your presence." Alex's heart expanded, despite maintaining composure. "I've yearned for you as well," he responded, his voice gentle. "I've watched your lives from afar, but it's gratifying to see you in the flesh." Emma approached, her eyes scanning his face. "Why did you keep yourself absent for such a prolonged period? Why didn't you inform us earlier?" Alex hesitated before responding truthfully. "I believed you deserved a childhood unencumbered by the strain of what your mother and I experienced. I wished for you to become who you were destined to be, without my influence casting a shadow upon you." Lucas, known for his analytical mind, nodded in understanding. "And now, why return?" Alex explained briefly. "It was the right moment, time for reconnection, time for reconstruction." The discussion continued smoothly thereafter, laughter blending with recollection shared. For the first time in years, Alex felt a profound sense of attachment, not to the past, but to the future we could construct together. Under Alex's leadership, the tech park emerged as the pulse of Millbrook's resurgence. Advanced facilities attracted top professionals, while collaborations with local enterprises breathed new life into the community. The once deserted main street storefronts were filled with cafes, shops, and startups. Alex additionally established scholarships for local students, thereby providing Millbrook's youngsters with chances he himself had previously missed. The community's appreciation was evident. Alex, though, kept his sights set on his objective. For him, it wasn't about redemption, it was about advancement. He had no desire to reclaim his past life. Instead, he was constructing something entirely novel. As the sun dipped below the renovated tech park, Alex stood on the rooftop garden, gazing at Millbrook's twinkling lights beneath him. His children were with him, their presence a symbol of everything he had striven for and acquired. "You've accomplished something remarkable here," Emma said, her voice brimming with admiration. Alex smiled, his eyes fixed on the horizon. "We've achieved this together, and this is only the beginning." In that instant, the difference between the man Alex once was and the man he had become was clear. He had turned suffering into motivation, deceit into resilience, and sorrow into a legacy. Millbrook, once emblematic of his decline, now stands as a monument to his resilience and foresight, a beacon of optimism for what lies ahead. Marissa's life, once expansive, is now narrowed to a fragment of its former self. The grand dinner soirees and the status associated with Millbrook General are but memories. Now she tends to a cramped, overworked clinic on the outskirts of town, managing minor illnesses and an endless pile of paperwork. The drab clinic's walls, adorned with outdated posters and sterile white paint, starkly contrast her once opulent office. Her patients are polite but disinterested, oblivious to her previous life. Each day Marissa shoulders the weight of remorse. The gaze of her grown children, visits motivated by duty rather than affection, weighs heaviest on her heart. Emma, with her unwavering dignity, often speaks with a quiet sense of disillusionment. Thomas, always the pragmatist, keeps his words to the bare essentials. Lucas, though polite, seldom lingered. The remorse never subsided, intensified by the understanding that Alex, who she had deceived so profoundly, became their cornerstone. He excelled in ways she couldn't fathom, constructing a reputation that her actions came close to undoing. Marissa's work at the clinic was insignificant compared to her penance, and despite her efforts to make amends for her past, the harm was irreversible. Bruce, once an appealing financial advisor with a radiant grin, now labored as a mid-level accountant at Hood Innovations. The irony didn't elude him. The firm he now served was established by the man he betrayed. His cramped and impersonal cubicle served as a continual reminder of his descent. Each day he clocked in, evading the looks of younger, aspiring coworkers who had heard tales of his past. His personal life mirrored this gloom. Krista, his former spouse, abandoned him with nothing but the clothes he hastily packed. Swift and ruthless, their divorce stripped him bare, leaving no substantial possessions or social status. Efforts to rebuild connections with his children fell on deaf ears. Dining alone in his single-room dwelling, the stillness was oppressive. Caroline found herself in a similar predicament. Living in a humble retirement facility, far from her once prestigious estate where she had welcomed Millbrook's high society, her room was compact and sparingly decorated with fading family portraits and cherished keepsakes. The staff showed kindness but remained aloof, while the other residents saw her merely as a fellow tenant, ignorant of her former power. Isolated from her grandchildren, Caroline faced her twilight years alone. The decisions she made to control Alex's life had cost her dearly family, esteem, and self-respect. She spent her days in quiet introspection, revisiting the moments that led to her descent. Correspondence from her grandchildren, when it arrived, was succinct and formal, lacking any affection. Despite consistently fulfilling their financial requirements, Alex maintained an unyielding emotional distance. Contrasting greatly with their biological parents, Thomas, Emma, and Lucas thrived under Alex's guidance and the security offered by their trust funds. Thomas, a promising figure in the Hood technology sector, rose to director of operations through dedication and perseverance, frequently seeking advice from Alex. Their relationship was rooted in mutual admiration and shared principles. No longer merely a fatherly figure, Alex assumed the role of mentor, inspiring Thomas's aspirations for personal growth. Emma, an influential figure in the arts community, forged her own path as a leader. Her therapeutic dance program for trauma survivors garnered national attention, merging her passion for dance with a profound understanding of others. She frequently sought Alex's strategic counsel, appreciating his insights on creating significance from hardship. The youngest, Lucas, inherited Alex's acumen and innovative spirit. At age 24, he led pioneering initiatives in blockchain technology, gaining recognition within the tech sphere without the influence of nepotism. Although linked to Hood Innovations, Lucas's achievements held independent value. His relationship with Alex deepened as their discussions encompassed technology and philosophy, continually reinforcing their bond. Despite their accomplishments, they kept a measured yet distanced rapport with Marissa and Bruce. They respected their biological parents' efforts to rebuild their lives, but prioritized their own path, aligning with Alex's values of integrity and persistence. To them, Alex was not merely a nominal father figure. He molded their futures by instilling resilience. Thus, Alex Hood embodied triumph over adversity. Hood Innovations, now a global force, wasn't just a tech firm, it symbolized Alex's odyssey. The company's ethos mirrored Alex's personal values, resonating with both employees and clients. The Millbrook Tech Park revitalized the town into an innovative hotspot, drawing talent nationwide and boosting the local economy. Beyond business endeavors, Alex's influence permeated the community. He funded scholarships for underprivileged students, established mentorship programs for young entrepreneurs, and invested in infrastructure revamping Millbrook. Instead of representing the town's past scandals, he became a symbol of its transformation. Despite his achievements, Alex retained humility. He split his time between Millbrook and Singapore, preserving the equilibrium that characterized his new life. His evenings were typically spent in quiet contemplation, sipping green tea while overlooking the landscapes he helped transform. On particularly meaningful days, Alex would find himself atop Hood Innovations' headquarters rooftop garden, where he frequently reunited with his children. They'd talk about their futures, celebrate accomplishments, and sometimes reminisce on the past. For Alex, these instances were his real legacy, not edifices or wealth, but the restored bonds cultivated through sincerity and affection. Millbrook, once a town trapped in stagnation, now prospered under Alex's guidance. The tech park, with its contemporary design and lively atmosphere, became a testament to development. Local businesses prospered, schools received more resources, and families encountered fresh prospects. Alex's name was uttered with respect, his narrative serving as an inspiration of how determination can alter not just a life, but an entire community. As Alex strolled through the tech park on a crisp autumn day, the sound of crunching leaves echoed beneath him. He stopped to observe a cluster of young professionals strategizing outside one of the innovation hubs. In the beginning, Alex found fellow enthusiasm and zest in those around him. For a brief instant, he softened into a subtle grin. Though remnants of the past still lingered, they were no longer burdens but cornerstones for something much grander. The triumph of Alex Hood wasn't merely about his individual accomplishments, but rather his impact on lives, the reconstruction of a community, and the cultivation of a chosen family. Ultimately, Alex Hood's narrative was not a tale of vengeance, it was a story of resilience, redemption, and the unwavering might of choice. The auditorium hummed with anticipation as families assembled to honor graduates. In close proximity, Alex Hood sat among Thomas and Emma, their faces beaming with pride for Lucas. The youngest offspring of Alex had accomplished something outstanding, excelling at the pinnacle of his class with a degree in blockchain innovation, a realm he was already reshaping. During the event, Alex's mind wandered, intertwining thoughts around the experiences that shaped his odyssey. Betrayal previously engulfed Alex, leaving him stranded amidst the remnants of a life he once believed in. Falsehoods from those closest to him, Marissa, Bruce, and Caroline, endangered not only his family but his self-image. Amidst that despair, Alex uncovered the roots of resilience. He recognized betrayal as an ordeal rather than an ending, a trial to measure his capacity for growth and reconstruction. He rejected being defined by bitterness. Instead, he transformed it into motivation, using his pain to craft something robust, a legacy of honesty, purpose, and optimism. Betrayal had imparted him wisdom that strength was not about escaping suffering, but confronting it squarely and learning to prosper amidst it. Through his actions, Alex demonstrated the triumph of integrity over duplicity. Alex constructed his innovations not on shortcuts or deceit, but on openness and sincerity. His company served as an exemplar of what could be achieved when one adhered to purpose and morals. This same honesty informed his relationships, particularly with his children. In spite of their genetic ties, Alex never faltered in his affection for them. He consciously decided to be the father they required, demonstrating through his actions that family was not determined by genes, but by the values and bonds one chose to uphold. For Alex, family took on a fresh interpretation shaped by his experiences. It ceased to represent those who shared his DNA or were present at the start of his life. Family encompassed the people who stood by each other, uplifted one another, and celebrated together in times of success and struggle. This bond was forged through trust, regard, and love. The relationship between Alex and Thomas, Emma, and Lucas embodied this novel perspective. Each had forged their individual ways yet converged towards Alex, not due to duty but out of regard for the man he transformed into. Emulating him, they remodeled their family unit as one fortified by resilience and reciprocal esteem. At Lucas's graduation ceremony, the applause echoed like thunder. Alex felt his chest expand with pride, his claps resonating louder than anyone else's. Lucas sought out Alex in the audience, a smile stretching across his face. The gesture carried more depth than words could ever convey. Following the ceremony, they assembled under the sun's golden descent. Lucas approached Alex, clutching his diploma tightly. "This belongs just as much to you," he stated, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "You taught me all that I needed to reach this point." Alex shook his head, laying a hand on his son's shoulder. "No, Lucas," he responded. "This is your due. I merely demonstrated what could be achieved." "Hey, everyone," Thomas and Emma arrived, creating a group of four, a family not united by blood, but by choice. Alex gazed at his grown children, each demonstrating the principles he had tirelessly instilled, and felt an overwhelming sense of tranquility. As the sun sank below the skyline, leaving hues of gold and scarlet behind, Alex pondered over the path that led him here. The betrayal that once left him shattered now felt like a forgotten past, a tale of resilience and metamorphosis. He had cultivated a life with purpose and integrity, one that influenced not only himself but his family and community. In the end, Alex discovered something more significant than vengeance or reparation. He found contentment. His legacy was not just in the structures he constructed or businesses he founded, but in the lives he transformed, beginning with his own. For Alex Hood, the voyage didn't conclude yet, but there was no longer apprehension about what was to come. He had confronted the worst and emerged more robust, prepared to proceed constructing a future not based on losses, but on acquisitions. And for the first time in years, as he chuckled with his children under the waning light, he experienced genuine joy.